Welcome back to Moody Mary Gaming. We're back with Astride for lesson number 2 in the virtual horseback riding lessons series. I'm starting in the horse creator menu today so that we can point out the different legs on a horse. The lesson's going to be about footfalls within each gait, and for that you need to know which legs are which and be able to tell how the horse's feet are moving together. So I have this model set up to where the opposite sides of fronts and hinds are the same marking. That's because in a couple of the different gaits that the horses have, those legs move in pairs, and so having them marked this way, it will hopefully make it a little easier to visualize. Astride has a really accurate horse model for their movement, like for the way that the horse's feet move together. So I think this would be a good game to demonstrate that. If it's something you're interested in, stick around. We're gonna head out to the arena and get started with the lesson. So we're gonna hop on up here, and while we walk down to the arena, I'm just gonna briefly go over the 4 standard gaits that every horse has. Basically, it's a package deal. You got a horse, you got at least 4 gaits typically. There are some breeds that have additional gaits. You may have a 5-gaited horse breed, but in general, horses have 4 main gaits. Those are the walk, trot, canter, and gallop. We define the gaits by footfalls, and that is determined by how the horse's legs move. Every time a horse's hoof hits the ground, that's 1 footfall, and that constitutes 1 beat within a stride of a gait. And based on the beats that the horse is going on, that helps us identify what gait they're in. 1 stride is just a set of all 4 feet hitting the ground 1 time. So a horse has 4 legs. You will only ever have a total of 4 beats maximum within any gait. The walk is a 4-beat gait, the trot is a 2-beat gait, the canter is a 3-beat gait, and then the gallop is a 4-beat gait. So we will go over how those are identified in just a couple minutes. We're going to get started with the walk. As I said before, the walk is a 4-beat gait. The walk is also one of the symmetrical gaits that a horse has. And symmetrical for a horse gait just means that the footfall pattern on either side of the horse, the left and the right side, just repeat each time. There's not a different series, and it's also not broken up by the other side's activity. So I am going to slow down the video really quickly so that you can see the footfalls in the order that they go. Let me get on a little bit of a straightaway so I can slow it down better. But it's going to be the left hind, left front, right hind, right front. And that's your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th beat. And because all 4 feet have hit the ground 1 time, that's 1 stride of walk. We always start our count for the walk in particular with the left hind. It's just a standard way to start the count. If you know the sequence of footfalls, you can start your count at any point and you know which foot's going to hit the ground next. But just for a standard methodology of counting, so that we're all on the same page, we're all counting in the same way, we start with that left hind. So we're going to slow this down again one more time, and I'm going to count out the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 2 strides at the walk. Moving up to the trot. The trot is a 2-beat gait, as we said before, and this is the 2nd of the symmetrical gaits that the horse has. So again, that just means that the feet follow the same pattern on both sides of the horse. Because the horse's legs move in pairs at the trot, when both of those feet hit the ground, it's considered 1 beat or 1 footfall because it's at the same time. Basically, the trot cuts in half how many legs you have to keep track of because they're moving in pairs. And you can see those 2 feet with the socks and the 2 feet without the socks. Those are the pairs that are moving together on opposite sides of the horse, front and back. And we call those diagonal pairs because they are diagonal across the horse's body. Front left foot and the right hind foot are moving together. The hind left foot and the front right foot are moving together. So we're going to slow this down again so you can see the beats, and I'm going to count it out for you. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and that is 3 strides of the trot. We do tend to start our count for the trot as well with that left hind. It's less important to be super strict with how you start your count with the trot, simply because there's not as many footfalls to keep track of. It's just 2 of them. So that's not as big of a deal, but just something to know. Moving up into the canter. Before we start talking about the beats of the canter, I'm going to cover what's called leads. So every canter has a lead, and there are 2 different leads that a horse could be on within the canter. This goes for the gallop as well. The leading legs are the legs that move further forward or further out. They're covering a little bit more ground than the other pair, and the leading legs are only ever going to be on one side of the horse at a time, or they should be. There's rare occasions where you'll find a horse that can canter on opposite leads in their front and back, but we'll talk about that later. So right now you may be able to see that this horse's right side, the right legs on both the front and the hind ends, are moving further forward than the pair on the left side. This means we would say this horse is on a right lead canter. I am going to slow this down so maybe you can see it a little bit better if you've not looked for this before within a horse's movement. So here we go. We're going to slow it down in just a second. Now. So can you see those right legs moving just a little further forward? That's the right lead canter. If we were to do the left lead canter, the left legs would be moving forward. It's just basically swapping sides. And if you've ever seen a horse do a lead change, it almost looks like they're skipping. They kind of skip and like throw their shoulder up on the other side to pick up that lead change. If you were actually in the saddle, you'd be able to see the shoulder would be moving further forward on the right side. In this model, it doesn't really happen. They stay very similar, but just know when you're riding, you will actually see a horse's shoulder move further forward if you were to look down. I also want to talk about the leads in relation to the direction that you're going. You want your leading leg to be on the inside of the track that you are going on. So we are going to the right now. We're tracking right. We're on right rein. We want the lead. This has to do with a horse's stability, and because this is an asymmetrical gait, the feet follow an odd pattern, and it can put the horse a little bit off balance. Now, you may find that someone is doing an opposite lead canter. We call that a counter canter. It's a more advanced move, but for right now, we're just going to stick with the correct lead is the inside leg. Back to the beats of the gait. The canter is a 3-beat gait, as I said or mentioned earlier. It is an asymmetrical gait, which means that the feet don't follow an exact sequence on either side of the horse. So you'll see that the left front and the right hind are moving in parallel together, while the other 2 feet, the feet with the socks, are moving at slightly different times. So the movement on either side of the horse's body, the footfalls, are kind of broken up. And the way that we count a canter stride beat depends upon the lead that you're on as well. you're going to start with the opposite side hind foot. In this case, with the right lead, we're going to start our count with the left hind foot. And I'm going to give you the cadence now as we slow down the video. It is the left hind, and left front, right front. If we were going in the opposite direction and we correctly changed leads, the footfalls would just be reversed. So I'm going to slow this video down so we can count it out. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that is 3 strides at the canter. The fourth gait is the 4-beat gait of the gallop. The difference between the canter and the gallop is basically just splitting the second beat of the canter in 2. And it would be the same order of feet except splitting that second beat. So if we were going to the right, like we are now on the right lead, it would be the left hind, left front, right front. The left front would hit the ground just slightly later than the right hind, creating 2 separate beats rather than that single beat with those feet moving together. And then if we were tracking to the left and we changed leads, it would just be the reversal of that. So that's a quick summary of all the footfalls and beats within all 4 main gaits of a horse. The differences between them, that symmetrical, asymmetrical styles. And I am going to link some videos down below that slow it down even more and give kind of even more specific modeled version of the gaits. And also kind of a lesson article where if you're interested in reading a little bit more about the biomechanics and the terminology, you can find that information there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!